Thursday Night Football, the Niners beat the Seahawks in Seattle. Big NFC West showdown. And that's where we're going to start. First topic for this week is the Niners can now feel really good about where they're at. They're at 3-3. Obviously, the record is not what they were hoping for, but they've been through a lot. And so there are three things I think you can look at coming out of this game that are important to take away. Number one, Brock Purdy's playing the best football of his career, and it hasn't always looked pretty over the last few weeks, but they've needed him in some cases to be the best player on the field. It's something they really weren't asking of him his first 2 years in the league. And he showed an ability to level up with the way he's scrambling around now, the way he's making plays off schedule, the way he's moving the chains with his legs. And he's still really efficient as a passer. He had 129.3 quarterback rating against the Seattle defense that hasn't played great, but is still a proud unit. So I think you can feel really good about where Brock Purdy is, the way he's played without Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, with Deebo Samuel nicked up, with George Kittle nicked up, with Brandon Ayuk coming back out off of the hold in. For a lot of different reasons, I think the Niners have to feel good about where they're at with Brock Purdy going forward. And as they get healthier, as their line starts to come together, it was a really good guard combination. Aaron Banks and Dominic Puny, the rookie third-round pick, those two have looked really good and should keep getting better. Of course, Trent Williams still getting his feet underneath him coming out of the holdout. You can feel really good about where Brock Purdy is, because if that offense continues to get healthier and continues to come together, you've got a quarterback now who has some valuable experience over the first 6 weeks of the season and having to take a little bit more on his shoulders. The second thing I take away from the game is the run game really got going. And it really, I think when you look at where they were at going into this game, that it had been a little bit more hit or miss. They rushed for 228 yards. They had 6.9 yards per carry. They had explosives. Jordan Mason, we'll see what happens with him from an injury standpoint, but he had a 38-yard run. They bring in Garendo. When Mason was hurt, he averaged almost 10 yards a carry. Of course, a lot of that was in the strength of a 76-yard run. The run game's in a really good spot, and that's a good place to be when you don't have Christian McCaffrey in there. And the hope is they will get Christian McCaffrey back in time. But for right now, the run game seems like it's pulling in the direction that it needs to be pulling in. And then my third thing to take away is just, I think, on Thursday night, they really vanquished a couple of demons. The first one is the red zone issue that they'd had. They were 1 of 6 in that loss to Arizona in the red zone. They struggled some in the red zone, even against a bad New England team. And in the first half, they weren't able to punch it in the red zone. They come back in the second half and they're able to play much better in the red zone. George Kittle has a couple of red zone touchdowns at the end of the game. You had Kyle Juszczyk scoring on an inside run. So real progress in the red zone. That vanquishes one of the demons from their ups and downs over the last few weeks. Then the other demon is blowing leads, and it looked like it could happen here. At one point, they were up 23-3. That winds up getting that deficit winds up getting narrowed to 23-17. The Seahawks are in position. They've got the crowd back into it to come back. Even after the Niners scored, the Seahawks fought back again, and the Niners were able to close out a division opponent, something they weren't able to do against the Cardinals or Rams. So those two demons seem to have been vanquished on this Thursday night. Again, the hope is that they get a little bit healthier. Deebo Samuel will get healthier. I think you saw a different version of him last night. Brandon Ayuk has continued to work his way back into playing shape after missing so much practice time over the summer. George Kittle's healthier and played great last night. And then you hope you get Christian McCaffrey back at some point, maybe in November. But this is a team that's coming together. And I think last night's also indicative of how they're going to have to win games. The defense isn't what it was the last few years. It's gotten a little older in spots. Javon Hargrave is out for the year. They still don't have Dre Greenlaw back. So they showed themselves last night of being capable of winning a shootout, which is a really good thing.